Have you ever wondered what it means when we say a government has jurisdiction over a certain area or group of people? In this video, we'll break down the concept of government jurisdiction, exploring what it is, why it matters, and how it shapes our daily lives. Jurisdiction is a foundational idea in law and governance, affecting everything from local disputes to international relations. Let's start by understanding the basics, and then move on to see how jurisdiction operates in different contexts. By the end, you'll have a clear grasp of this essential legal concept. Jurisdiction refers to the official power or authority a government or legal body has to make decisions and enforce laws within a specific area or over certain people. It's like drawing invisible boundaries that determine who can make rules, who must follow them, and who can resolve disputes. Without jurisdiction, there would be confusion about which laws apply and who is responsible for upholding them. This concept is crucial for maintaining order and ensuring that laws are applied fairly and consistently. Jurisdiction isn't a one-size-fits-all concept. There are several types, each serving a different purpose. For example, territorial jurisdiction refers to a government's authority within a specific geographic area. Personal jurisdiction is about authority over certain individuals, while subject matter jurisdiction deals with the kinds of cases a court can hear. Understanding these distinctions helps clarify how laws are applied and who has the right to enforce them in various situations. Territorial jurisdiction is perhaps the most straightforward type. It refers to the power a government has within its physical boundaries. For example, a city government can pass laws that apply only within city limits, while a national government's laws apply across the entire country. This type of jurisdiction is essential for defining where a government's authority begins and ends, preventing overlap and confusion between different governing bodies. Personal jurisdiction is about who a government or court has authority over, regardless of where they are. For instance, a court may have personal jurisdiction over someone who lives in its area or who has significant connections there. This ensures that people can't simply avoid legal responsibility by moving around. It's a key part of making sure laws are enforceable and that justice can be served fairly. Subject matter jurisdiction refers to the types of cases a court or government body can hear. For example, some courts only handle criminal cases, while others deal with civil disputes or family matters. This specialization helps ensure that cases are handled by those with the right expertise, making the legal process more efficient and fair for everyone involved. Jurisdiction isn't just about types. It also exists at different levels of government. In many countries, there are local, regional, and national governments, each with their own areas of authority. For example, a city council might regulate local traffic, while the national government handles immigration. Understanding these levels helps us see how laws are organized and enforced in a complex society. In federal systems like the United States, jurisdiction is divided between federal and state governments. Federal jurisdiction covers issues like national defense and interstate commerce, while states handle matters like education and local law enforcement. Sometimes, these areas overlap, leading to complex legal questions about which level of government has the final say. Jurisdiction isn't limited to just one country. International jurisdiction comes into play when issues cross national borders, like in cases of international crime or trade disputes. International courts and organizations help resolve these conflicts, but their authority depends on agreements between countries. This adds another layer of complexity to the idea of jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is more than just a legal term. It's a practical tool for organizing society. It helps ensure that laws are applied consistently, disputes are resolved fairly, and governments don't overstep their bounds. Without clear jurisdiction, there would be confusion, conflict, and a lack of accountability. That's why understanding jurisdiction is so important for anyone interested in law, politics, or governance. You might not realize it, but jurisdiction affects your daily life in many ways. From the traffic laws you follow on your way to work, to the courts that handle disputes in your community, jurisdiction determines which rules apply and who enforces them. It's the reason you pay taxes to certain governments and vote in specific elections. Understanding this helps you navigate the legal landscape more confidently. Law enforcement agencies operate within specific jurisdictions. For example, city police enforce local laws, while federal agencies handle national issues. This division ensures that each agency focuses on its area of expertise and responsibility, making law enforcement more effective and organized. Courts are a prime example of how jurisdiction works. Each court has authority over certain types of cases and people. For instance, a family court handles divorce and custody cases, while a criminal court deals with violations of criminal law. This specialization helps ensure that cases are resolved by judges with the right knowledge and experience. When disputes arise, jurisdiction determines which court or authority can resolve them. This is especially important in cases involving people or businesses from different areas. Clear rules about jurisdiction help prevent confusion and ensure that disputes are handled fairly and efficiently. Sometimes, jurisdiction can change. For example, if a crime crosses state lines, federal authorities may take over. Or, if a case involves both state and federal laws, it might move from one court system to another. These changes are guided by legal rules to ensure that the right authority handles each case. Jurisdiction is closely tied to the idea of sovereignty, the ultimate authority a government has over its territory and people. Sovereign states have the power to make and enforce laws within their borders, free from outside interference. This principle is a cornerstone of international law and relations. Sometimes, two or more governments claim jurisdiction over the same issue or area. These conflicts can lead to legal battles or even diplomatic disputes. Resolving them often requires negotiation, compromise, or intervention by higher authorities like federal courts or international organizations. Jurisdiction can be exclusive, where only one authority has power, or concurrent, where multiple authorities share power. For example, some crimes can be prosecuted by both state and federal courts. Understanding the difference helps clarify who can take action in different situations. International treaties often define jurisdiction between countries. For example, extradition treaties specify when one country must hand over a suspect to another. These agreements help manage cross-border issues and ensure cooperation between governments. In civil cases, jurisdiction determines which court can hear a lawsuit. This might depend on where the parties live, where an event occurred, or the amount of money involved. Clear jurisdictional rules help ensure that cases are heard in the right place and by the right authority. Criminal cases also depend on jurisdiction. Usually, the court where the crime occurred has authority. However, if a crime spans multiple areas, more than one court might be involved. This ensures that crimes are prosecuted where they happen, but also allows for cooperation when necessary. If someone disagrees with a court's decision, they may appeal to a higher court. Each level of court has its own jurisdiction, and appeals can only be made within certain limits. This system ensures that decisions are reviewed fairly and that legal errors can be corrected. Businesses often operate in multiple jurisdictions, which means they must follow different laws in different places. For example, a company selling products in several states or countries must comply with each area's regulations. Understanding jurisdiction helps businesses avoid legal trouble and operate smoothly. Technology has made jurisdiction more complicated. For example, online businesses and social media platforms operate across borders, raising questions about which laws apply. Governments are still figuring out how to regulate these new spaces, making jurisdiction a hot topic in the digital age. Jurisdiction also plays a role in protecting human rights. National and international courts can hear cases about rights violations, but only if they have the proper jurisdiction. This ensures that victims have a place to seek justice, but also highlights the limits of legal authority. Immigration laws are a clear example of jurisdiction in action. National governments control who can enter or stay in their country, and these rules are enforced at borders. Disputes about immigration often involve questions of jurisdiction, especially when people move between countries. Tax laws are another area where jurisdiction is key. Different governments have the authority to collect taxes from people and businesses within their area. Sometimes, this leads to disputes over who owes what, especially for those who live or work in multiple places. Property laws depend on jurisdiction. Local governments decide how land can be used, who owns what, and how disputes are resolved. This is why property rules can vary so much from one place to another, and why it's important to know which laws apply to your home or business. Family law, including marriage, divorce, and child custody, is usually handled by local or regional courts. Jurisdiction determines which court can make decisions about your family, and these rules can be especially important in cases involving people from different areas. Environmental laws often involve multiple jurisdictions. For example, pollution in one area can affect neighboring regions, leading to disputes over who has the authority to regulate and enforce environmental rules. Cooperation between governments is often necessary to address these challenges. Education is typically managed at the local or regional level, with school districts and state governments setting rules. Jurisdiction determines who controls funding, curriculum, and standards, which is why education systems can differ so much from place to place. Healthcare laws and regulations are another area shaped by jurisdiction. National, regional, and local governments may all have a role in setting health policies, funding hospitals, and regulating providers. This can lead to differences in healthcare, access, and quality across regions. Voting rights and election laws are determined by jurisdiction. Local, state, and national governments set rules about who can vote, how elections are run, and how results are counted. This is why voting procedures can vary widely, even within the same country. Transportation systems, like roads and public transit, are managed by different levels of government. Jurisdiction determines who builds, maintains, and regulates these systems, which can affect everything from traffic laws to funding for new projects. Emergency services like police, fire, and medical response are organized by jurisdiction. Local governments typically manage these services, but regional or national agencies may step in during large-scale emergencies. Clear jurisdictional lines help coordinate responses and save lives. Intellectual property laws, like copyrights and patents, are enforced by governments within their jurisdiction. This means that protections may vary from one country to another, and international agreements are often needed to protect creators' rights across borders. Consumer protection laws are another example of jurisdiction at work. Different governments set rules to protect buyers from fraud or unsafe products. Knowing which laws apply helps consumers make informed choices and seek help if needed. Social services, like welfare and housing assistance, are managed by different levels of government. Jurisdiction determines who provides these services and who is eligible, which can lead to differences in support from place to place. Military authority is another area defined by jurisdiction. National governments control their armed forces and decide where they can operate. Sometimes, international agreements allow for joint operations or peacekeeping missions in other countries. Indigenous peoples often have their own forms of jurisdiction, recognized by national governments. This can include authority over land, resources, and cultural practices. Respecting these jurisdictions is important for honoring treaties and promoting justice. Some legal systems recognize religious courts or authorities within their jurisdiction. These bodies may handle matters like marriage or inheritance for members of certain faiths, as long as they don't conflict with national laws. This adds another layer to the complex idea of jurisdiction. Civil rights laws are enforced by different levels of government, each with its own jurisdiction. This means that protections may vary, and people may need to seek help from local, state, or national authorities depending on the issue. International organizations like the United Nations or World Court have their own jurisdictions, defined by treaties and agreements. Their authority is limited to what member countries agree to, but they play a key role in resolving global issues. To sum up, government jurisdiction is the authority to make and enforce laws within a specific area or over certain people. It's a complex but essential part of how societies are organized, affecting everything from daily life to international relations. Understanding jurisdiction helps us navigate the legal world and appreciate the structure behind the rules we follow. As our world becomes more interconnected, questions about jurisdiction will only become more important. From digital spaces to global challenges, understanding who has authority and how it's exercised will help us build fairer, more effective systems. Stay curious and informed, and you'll be better equipped to engage with the laws and governments that shape our lives.